It's a great privilege for me to be with you all today, and special thanks to.
It's audible, quite audible.
Hello.
Yes, yes, we're audible.
Yeah, am I audible to everyone?
You're audible and visible, quite well visible.
Thank you, sir. It's a great privilege for me to be with you all today. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Tufanpati sir and Dr. Alim for giving me an opportunity to be with you all. आज जिस विषय पे मैं बोलने जा रहा हूँ और उन व्यक्ति के सामने बोलने जा रहा हूँ जिनके आशीर्वाद से मैं यहाँ तक पहुँचा हूँ, मैं वो डॉक्टर मुरली साइलॉब सर है। ये मेरी सौभाग्य की सर के साथ आज मुझे रहने का अवसर मिला और सर ने ही मेरी संस्था को इस जगह तक पहुंचाने में एक बहुत बड़ा योगदान है सर का, मेरे को जो उन्होंने मार्गदर्शन दिया जिसके आधार पे मैं यहाँ तक पहुंच पाया हूँ। मैं कुछ अपने एक्सपीरियंसेस और हर्डल्स आपके सामने शेयर करना चाहूँगा। मुझे आज विगत 24 वर्षों से मनोचिकित्सक के रूप में कार्यरत हूँ, जिसमें 2007 में मैं सबसे पहली बार जब प्रैक्टिस करते करते मुझे समझ में आया कि क्रॉनिक इल पेशेंट्स के लिए कोई लोग जो है मार्गदर्शन नहीं दे पा रहे हैं या उनके लिए कुछ नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो वह समस्या मेरे लिए एक बहुत मन में हमेशा परेशान करती रही। इसको देखते हुए फिर मैंने कदम उठाया कि मैं क्यों ना इनके पुनर्वास के लिए या रिहेबिलिटेशन के लिए कुछ आगे करूं। यह देखते हुए आई स्टार्टेड माय जर्नी ऑन 2007 बाय परचेसिंग अ लैंड। और जब से पहले मेरे को जो प्रॉब्लम आई, जो चुनौतियां मुझे फेस करनी पड़ी, वो ये थी कि जब मैंने इसको स्टार्ट किया और लैंड परचेस करी तो विलेजेस मेरे अगेंस्ट थे कि यहाँ पे किसी भी तरह का मानसिक रोग का अस्पताल डाला नहीं जाएगा, क्योंकि यहाँ पागल खाना नहीं खोलना देंगे हम। और इसके लिए मुझे काफी ज्यादा मीटिंग्स लेनी पड़ी जाके सरपंच के साथ में, जिला पंचायत अध्यक्ष के साथ में, और फिर जाकर के मैंने अस्पताल को स्टार्ट किया, जो कि एक बहुत बड़ा स्टिग्मा है, लोग इसे कलंक के रूप में देखते हैं। और जब मैंने स्टार्ट किया सर, तब उस समय सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम मेरे को हुई कि मेरे पास कोई स्टाफ नहीं थे। तो फिर मैंने गांव से लोगों को इकट्ठा किया, एक 20 लोगों की टीम बनाई, उनको साइकियाट्री प्राइमरी हेल्थ के साइकियाट्री के प्राइमरी इश्यूज को कैसे मैनेज किया जाए, उन लोगों को साथ में लेकर के फिर मैंने सेंटर को स्टार्ट किया। वह सेंटर आज लगभग 100 बेड का मैंने स्टार्ट किया। उसके साथ मुझे फंड्स की भी प्रॉब्लम होने लगी जब मैं पेशेंट को एडमिट करने लगा, कि लोग आके कहते हैं कि सब इलाज के लिए डॉक्टर साहब पैसे दे सकते हैं या जानबूझ के परेशान करता है और इसके लिए हम क्या इलाज करेंगे, और इसके लिए कोई पैसा देने को तैयार नहीं। और मेरी जो संस्था है वो पूरी प्राइवेट ही है, मैं ही उसे चलाता हूँ और मेरे साथ जूनियर 2 साइकियाट्रिस्ट और हैं। तो यह देखते हुए फिर मैंने विलेज में जो उग्र आक्रोशित मरीज जो बांध के लाए जाते थे, उन लोगों का इलाज करना चालू किया और धीरे धीरे सोसाइटी में एक पकड़ ली मैंने कि मानसिक रोग का इलाज भी होता है और लोग स्वस्थ भी होते हैं। और मेरा सीधा उनसे सामना हुआ, जैसे फेथ हीलर्स के सामने बैगा लोग के साथ, वो आकर के मेरे साथ झगड़ा करने लग गए, वो पेशेंटों को भड़काने लग गए कि ऐसी कोई बात नहीं है और आपको इस तरह का ध्यान नहीं देना चाहिए। लेकिन मैंने कभी उन लोगों के अगेंस्ट जाकर के कोई कार्य नहीं किया। मैंने डायरेक्ट जो है बैगा लोग की मीटिंग ली और मैंने उनको कहा कि आपको जो करना है इलाज आप करिए, मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, लेकिन आपके धर्म से, आपकी पूजा पाठ से मुझे कोई परेशानी नहीं है, आप सिर्फ दवाइयाँ इनको टाइम पे खिलाइए। और शायद ये धीरे धीरे ये हुआ कि वो बैगे मेरी दवाइयों को चूर्ण करके ऑर्डर करके खिलाने लग गए, तो प्राइमरी लेवल पे पेशेंट इंप्रूव होने लग गए। दूसरी चुनौती मुझे ये आई कि सरकार ने मुझे चुनौती के रूप में ले लिया कि जब मैं मेंटल हॉस्पिटल यहाँ स्टार्ट कर रहा था 2000 में, पर से छत्तीसगढ़ में कोई भी ऐसा गवर्नमेंट सेटअप नहीं था, तो CMHO सब मुझे ऑब्स्ट्रक्ट करने लग गए। लाइसेंसिंग में बहुत दिक्कतें हुई, उनके साथ मीटिंग्स ली, तब जाकर के धीरे धीरे मीटिंग्स में भी ऐसी कि जाकर के ब्यूरोक्रेसी में पुलिस ने मुझे परेशान किया कि कोई भी पेशेंट जो है एब्सकॉन्ड होते थे उन लोगों को मेरे साथ लेने नहीं देते थे, कि बोले वो डॉक्टर साहब आपका देखभाल करने का है, हमारा कोई रोल नहीं है इसमें। फिर मैंने पुलिस पर्सनल्स में मीटिंग ली, उनको जाकर के लेक्चर्स कंडक्ट किए। आई मेड देम अवेयर कि साइकेट्री में क्या क्या चीजें हैं, लॉ के अंदर क्या क्या चीजें आती हैं, और एक साइकेट्रिस्ट और अगर पुलिस साथ में मिल जाए तो किसी मेंटल हेल्थ पेशेंट के लिए कितना बेनिफिट हो सकता है, और वी कैन हेल्प देम टू रीच टू फॉर अ प्रॉपर ट्रीटमेंट। सर इतनी समस्याएं देखते देखते जब मैं एक चीज देखा कि जब लॉन्ग टर्म में ये पेशेंट्स आने लग गए और पेशेंट्स के लिए मैं आगे कुछ नहीं कर पा रहा था, देन आई स्टार्टेड अ नर्सिंग कॉलेज जहाँ पे मुझे स्टूडेंट्स मिले एंड आई स्टार्टेड एमएससी साइकेट्री नर्सिंग। तब जाकर के कंप्लीट मेरा सेटअप स्टार्ट होने लग गया और मुझे हेल्प मिलने लग गया, क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ पेशेंट के बारे में सोचने लग गए हम। एंड फिर साथ में मैंने साइकोलॉजी स्टार्ट करी कि डिपार्टमेंट एक साइकोलॉजी, उसके बाद साइकेट्रिक सोशल वर्कर एंड काउंसलर्स। नाउ द होल टीम स्टार्टेड वर्किंग ऑन पेशेंट एंड एट द सेम टाइम डॉक्टर मुरली सर की एंट्री मेरे अस्पताल में हुई। उनके आशीर्वाद से मैं चीजों को आगे बढ़ाता चला गया and then I started rehabilitation. Now the challenge for rehabilitation was family. इनका ओवर कंसर्न और ओवर रिलेशंस जो ओवर एक्सपेक्टेशंस जो रहती थी, और उन्हें कहने लग गया कि इससे रिहैबिलिटेशन से पेशेंटों का कोई भला नहीं हो सकता, आप कुछ नहीं कर सकते इसमें। तीन चैलेंजेस को फेस करने लग गए हम। उस चैलेंजेस के अंदर में फिर मैंने सिजोफ्रेनिक्स के लिए स्पेसिफिकली उनके कॉग्निशन के लिए, कोऑर्डिनेशन के लिए, मेमोरी के लिए, इन चीजों के लिए मैंने सेटअप स्टार्ट किया और एक ऑक्यूपेशनल थेरेपिस्ट को अपॉइंट किया। एंड देन आई स्टार्टेड वर्किंग विद देम अकॉर्डिंग टू देयर ऑक्यूपेशंस एंड क्वालिफिकेशंस। तो उनके हिसाब से जैसे एजुकेटेड है तो उनको कंप्यूटर्स में, बुक रीडिंग में, और उनके जॉब से रिलेटेड फाइनेंस में, तो उनसे रिलेटेड हमने उनको धीरे 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 करके वापस लाने की प्रयास किया। तो कुछ पेशेंटों में हमें ये बहुत चैलेंजिंग था एंड आई गॉट पॉजिटिव रिस्पॉन्स and that helped me a lot. That motivated my team, the whole team of mine very much, and gradually फिर हम उसको occupation base में धीरे से क्राफ्टिंग, पोर्टर, अगरबत्ती बनाना, मोमबत्ती, इन सब चीजों के लिए हम आगे चलते गए। इतना तक हो गया कि हम एवरी राखी एंड दिवाली को अराउंड 7,000 to 8,000 रुपीज का सामान हम मार्केट में सेल करने लग गए। एंड विद दैट अर्निंग हम अपने पेशेंटों के डेवलपमेंट के लिए, उनकी रिक्वायरमेंट्स के लिए उसी पैसे को हम री इन्वेस्ट करने लग गए। सो दिस वाज ऑल थिंग विद द गुड शेड्यूल कि लाइक फ्रॉम मॉर्निंग टू इवनिंग पेशेंटों का शेड्यूल हमने तैयार किया, जिसके अंदर योगा है, व्यायाम है, फिर कुछ नेचुरोपैथी के ट्रीटमेंट्स हैं, फिर उनको स्पोर्ट्स एक्टिविटीज हैं, प्रेयर टाइम है, फिर उनका एक मूवी है, स्पिरिचुअलिटी के लिए इन्वॉल्व करने लग गए। So this was the schedule we follow and we are getting a positive response. At the same time, I am running a de-addiction center as well. उनके लिए हम rehabilitation करते हैं, जैसे उनके मोटिवेशन को बढ़ाने के लिए, उनके ईगो को थोड़ा सा बैलेंस करने के लिए, सेल्फ डिपेंडेंट होने के लिए कहते हैं, जैसे उनका खुद का कपड़ा धोना है, यूटेंसिल्स को धोना है, ये सब इश्यूज लेकर के उनके एसेटिव ट्रेनिंग है। और जो लो प्रोफाइल के रहते हैं, जो एजुकेशन नहीं रहते, विलेजर्स रहते हैं, उनके लिए एग्रो बेस्ड चीजें हम यूज करने लग गए, उनको उसमें इन्वॉल्व करने लग गए। तो ऐसे करते करते मैंने रिहैबिलिटेशन में देखा कुछ चैलेंजेस मैंने और देखे, जैसे पेशेंट अगर सुसाइड करता है कैंपस के अंदर, जो कि एक इंसिडेंट हुआ मेरे यहाँ, कि अगर वो सुसाइड करता है तो उसको कैसे फेस किया जाए। नोबडी इज रेडी टू लिसन टू यू एट दैट टाइम।
Pramod sir, there is a request for you to, if possible, please speak in English because some people are not good in Hindi.
Okay, fine. So basically now what has happened, if one of my patients has committed suicide, so it was a very great trouble for me, for my organization to face, because police was not ready to accept it, parents and relatives were not ready to accept it. Gradually then I talked to commissioner and I discussed the whole thing and I told what all things comes under mental health act. Then he agreed to it and the whole problem got settled out. So these are the issues which I really faced during my term, and I think so there are a lot of questions in my mind, and Dr. Murli sir will definitely give answer to that question, so that it will help me and all the viewers to set or like to move the organizations very well. Thank you so much. I welcome Dr. Murli sir for the talk.
Yeah.
I think so, Dr. Murli sir.
Oh, he is coming. He is already there.
Sir.
Yes.
No, there is a connection role. I just want to connect the loose contact.
Yes, sir. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, at the outset, thank you very much for such a wonderful opportunity given to me. And especially when the number of participants are increasing, my anxiety level also is increasing.
It will keep on increasing.
Yeah.
Join Theory bus.
And Dr. Fanpati, Amrit, and Alim, I think it's a great thing that continuously you have been doing this. First program. I'm very happy that I still not out at 50 afterwards. Usually I don't pick it out after 50. So 51st is a good. And I'm so extremely thankful to my teacher and in Guru, Dr. James T. and me. And not for him, I would not have taken psychiatry. That is one thing. At that time, Sir was talking about the year, it is 79, 78. And then he told me that the best place to do anything is in NIMHANS. So somehow all these things happened at that point of time. And then Pramod, is so nice to hear that you have started. And a lot of things, because that day I remember when I visited you, that you had a certain thing in you, like collecting all the talismans which people wear and bring it, especially psychiatric patients, and it's like a temple you have put it in your place. So I was quite amazed with seeing that, and I suggested at that time, I remember that why can't you look at which talisman is used for which symptom, and what is the type of possession or whatever it is. Looks like it. There is a culturally believed thing in this. Now, I would like to also welcome two of our very good international colleagues. One is Manal Leva and Professor Soli Ratnavane. And Soli, I think a lot of us also know as from South Africa. And Manal is from Egypt. And I think let us look at the way, because I'll try to reduce the, I'm sharing the slides. I do not have any interest with anything. I'm just talking about predominantly about the experiences which I've gone through at the same time, and how these things can happen in a developing nation when compared to things which have been developed in various countries. And they say that this is the way evidence-based and issues like that. So our outline of presentation will be something like this: introduction, historical evolution of psychosocial rehabilitation. And psychosocial rehabilitation and psychiatric rehabilitation are the terms interchangeably used. And we'll look at the Indian scenario, what happened, then concepts, current trend in PSR, challenges, requirement for a rehab center, and take-home message. Now, I do not want to really explain all the slides. A lot of slides will be skipped because to save the time. At the same time, after giving a glimpse of this, I would be interested to answer a lot of questions which comes in. That will be much more interesting. Let me see where I can have this in this way. Now, rehabilitation psychiatry is something absolutely neglected, even today. When I first developed interest in psychiatric rehabilitation, there were 5 NGOs in the country, not more than that. And today you can see that there is a large number of NGOs, and I cannot count it. It might have gone to more than 200, 250, and different varieties of rehab facilities have come up. But unfortunately, nothing has come up in a systematic way from the government, even though the Mental Health Care Act talks that it's a responsibility of the government which has come in, and which is not really happening. One of the issues is that lack of awareness and resources. See, resources is that resources may not be there in the government or various things, but there are plenty of resources available in and around if you look around. It's not the patient fees. There are plenty of resources, CSR resources, facilities like that, and we have to know how to tap this. Unfortunately, we are not trained to do any of these issues, and we look at it. Then comes everywhere rehabilitation is a low priority. Fortunately, World Health Organization, which I will be covering in the last part of it, 2030, rehabilitation 2030, WHO is talking about rehabilitation to be brought into the health systems, not under the welfare. So this is already they have launched, and this is going on in a very historical development of rehabilitation. Again, goes like all these pictures I am showing, that the way psychiatry has developed over a period of time. That itself is very much interesting. Because a few of my colleagues have been doing a lot of good work on that, like Sanjay Jain and Dr. Pradima, the current director of NIMHANS. And let us come to Indian scenario. It is not bad. I would like to say that a lot of things have happened, and I'm so happy that my teacher is one of the first batches from CIP Ranchi. Now, when the British started the mental hospitals in India, before that, there are a lot of interesting things used to happen in India. If you look at historically, different varieties of emperors and kings have helped people with disability to grow over a period of time. Now, organized rehabilitation and occupational therapy came in Ranchi. Interestingly, all the hospitals which were started by the British had a very large campus, as well as a lot of space for the patients. And in 1936, there was a manual written for CIP Ranchi, as well as to Tezpur and Agra, and say that every patient to be encouraged to do some work in the hospital, and this will be provided with a remuneration of ₹1. And there's something very interesting sentence. Then most of the very important thing is that Sharda Menon has initiated vocational and rehab in Chennai, and NIMHANS also was predominantly vocationally oriented thing. And daycare centers started in NIMHANS, and one NGO in the early 70s called Friends of NIMHANS, which I am still the trustee, which is running in Malaysia. And the residential facilities by NGOs started over a period of time because of the need of the community rather than the need of individuals. Late 90s community program for homeless mentally ill started, and especially this has developed in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, and then spread it to various other states. And there is, you look at the issue of more and more NGOs getting involved, and similarly positive developments at the policy level. This is very, very important, and it was quite substantial. Now, this picture you would have seen in the newspaper, and it's quite sad. And this is a defining moment in the care of the mentally ill across India, especially rehabilitation. Because Eravadi Center was a place where people used to bring patients and try to keep them there. And this fire tragedy has brought Supreme Court and various legal authorities, who are the case was taken, and appointed a committee to look into these things. Interestingly, I was also part of that, and that's the thing. Now comes, what is the?
Would you like to share your slides, Murli?
It's not coming.
No, it's not coming.
No, it is generally all right. Sometimes it has a little problem. That's all. I think.
Should I ask the host to share it? I can share it.
Yeah, right.
I'm asking the host to share it.
Yeah, very good. I shared it actually. Can you hear, see the slides now?
Yes.
Yeah. Now we can see.
Psychosocial rehabilitation is defined as a process that facilitates the opportunity for individuals impaired, disabled, or handicapped by a mental disorder to reach their optimal level of functioning in the community. This was a 1996 definition, which was a WAPR and WHO joint statement. But terminologies have changed over the years. Handicapped is not being used. Now, disablement is not being used. People are talking about functioning. But you find a lot of other definitions. And William Anthony has come in with the goal of psychiatry evidence to improve the functioning of persons with serious psychiatric disabilities so that they can live, learn, and work with success and satisfaction in their environment of choice with the least amount of professional intervention possible. Now, you can look at that. There is some amount of things there that least professional thing. Now, let us look at what we do. Look at, we know that these are the basic concepts of looking at a person with all these things. The difficulty is that it's nice to define this loss of symptoms. In mental illness, the problem is that there's no loss of structure or function which is visible. And we have said that it's symptoms of mental illness, which are the impairments. And you look at that and you see that these people are not able to perform a lot of activities like poor social care, social role, family role, vocational competence, interpersonal relationship. And most of these things have been also described in ideas, because the ideas are adaptation from the to WHO disability assessment schedule. And now they're looking at the international classification of functioning. And you can see that our people do not get an advantage in any place in India unless they are provided a reservation. Now, fortunately, 2004, there was a government order in public sector units from the Ministry of Labor that no psychiatric patients can be terminated or demoted because of psychiatric illness. A lot of people do not know this. And they say that the order says that they have to be given a supernumerary post and provided the same benefits as like any other normal employee. And you can look at that current trends. You might have, all of you know that the commentary which you have been reading, but it's not that very feasible in our country. And you can look at basic things what we can do, probably cognitive behavioral therapy, self-help and support groups, members of support group. These are some of the things which we can do definitely. And therapeutic community is being practiced by certain halfway homes in the country, and it is basically democratization, flattening of the hierarchy, and situation like that, which some places may not like it. Some families also may not like it. At the same time, let us look at the process of rehabilitation, which I have been requested to talk about. Mainly, how do you do rehabilitation? Who are the players? The actors of this is individual, family, community, and the government. But see that government's role is there, but at the same time, that is not most important. You can look at this thing, that how ultimately the whole process goes on, and accessibility is a very, very important. Now, at the individual level, let us look at this way. We have to do an assessment of what a person can do and what a person cannot do. Please remember, when you get a psychiatric patient for the first time in your outpatient itself, thinking of rehabilitation starts, especially in not only minor mental disorders or major mental disorders. I am talking about anybody who comes to you, because ultimately our interest is not to prescribe the medicine alone. We have to see that this person functions adequately in society. Now, We know that global burden of disease, one of the highest is psychiatric conditions. Then you look at after assessment, prioritize the needs, then have program planning for the patient, and set short-term goals, long-term goals, implementation, and follow-up. So simple. Rehabilitation is simple. Now, the issue comes is that it's not as simple as what we think about it, because once you look at needs of individual, needs of the family, and that psychiatrist or psychologist or anybody who is a professional assess the needs. And these three need not go together. The need of the individual may be different, the need of the family is different, assessed needs may be different. So we cannot prescribe something to an individual, making the person to just follow what you say. We have to look at the recent launching of WHO launching of client-centered or patient-centered treatment, and we have to listen to what the patient can do and what he needs. If he or she doesn't need anything, there's no way we can do anything on to make that. It's very, very clear. So our interest has to be to develop interest in the individual and how to encourage the person rather than getting into forcefully into certain other aspects. Now, when you look at program planning, this is something which is that every individual needs a separate program. Every family needs a separate program. And this has to be realistic. And we can go for a domiciliary or a center-based, depending on what is available, where and when. And we as professionals, we can give the inputs what is required. But the family has to put a lot of inputs, especially in cultures and countries like ours, Africa, a lot of South America, and a lot of countries where we are dependent on our own family members. We need a lot of family support. And of course, availability of facilities, which somebody will say that because facility is not there, I cannot. It is not. We can develop facilities anywhere. One of the example I can talk about is that a place like Silchar, to start some rehab 15 years back as a challenge, and we started it. And look at goals. What are the short-term goals? We are looking at disruptive behavior, work behavior, active symptoms, medication management. Why I want to put short-term goals that these are all achievable targets. But if you say that I am taking a patient, I know I want this person to be reintegrated back to society, may not work out. Then all of us will get disappointed, family get disappointed, the patient will get disappointed. And instead of that, set small short-term goals and try to see that this is being implemented, and we get that little happiness, joy of something small thing happen, and I can always say that, oh, I am happy about it. Now, long term, when you are looking at it, what is the arrangement for getting medication? We have got the district mental program where medicines are given free of cost to a lot of poor people. It's good, well and good. At the same time, it may not be always sufficient because there are a lot of issues with regard to supply, demand, and the way they reach to various primary health centers and issues like that. The other issue is the residence, whether you want to keep the patient at home or not. Now, one of the major things that happen in India is that inclusion of mental illness as a disability and getting benefits for the disability. Because of that, a lot of families still keep these people because pension is a very, very important thing. I used to tell some of the patients that it's a God-given gift for you. Now, a lot of families believe that it's a God-given gift, but this is a thing which comes without any difficulty to the families directly. If you have a disability more than 40%, then comes a job, big issue, but a lot of people can get into a job if we just give a little bit of assistance. Then follow-up is one big problem because a lot of people do not get them into the place where they come. But if we are having a regular camps and at the community level, like the discriminatory program, this can be overcome. One of the good example is that in Calicut district of Kerala, they do this type of arrangement through IMHANS, and a lot of daycare centers are functioning very adequately and nicely. Then comes what happens to the family? Who will look after me? And is there any? It's a big question and no answers there. Community reintegration is the most difficult problem because it is a community which is more important for us. I can give you a small example. When I as part of the National Human Rights Commission's project, I visited one of the mental hospitals in India, which belongs to a state, and of course, all of you know that the state from I come from. And when you visited this hospital, one of the patients told me straight away, told that, sir, this place is better than outside. So I asked, what is the reason? Because the place is very stinky. You can't stand in the place, it is smelling, and it's a monsoon season, a lot of food materials rotting outside, and toilets are full, and it was quite bad. And then he says, I was brought here by my friends for a treatment, and I was so enthusiastic. The treatment was so good, and I improved, and I went back, and I opened my shop. And the day I opened my shop in Malayalam, they told that madman has come to this place. He immediately closed the shutters and came back to the mental hospital at the period and got admitted. Today, I know that all the mental hospitals are much better. That's a different story. But he said, this place is definitely better for me than outside. So acceptance by the community is a very important thing. Otherwise, we will not have it. Now, why this happens to people with mental illness? One is non-acquisition of skills. Early onset illness, they do not develop the skills. Next is people who are getting the illness, having a prolonged illness or hospitalization, they do not use their skills. It becomes skills atrophy. And some people talk about initial neurosis, then comes sick role. And these two, I have my own views on that, which I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to blame any individual that they really want to have a sick role. Because today, you know that if you ask me to go and see in the hospital physically, I'm not very much keen because for the last 2 years, I'm almost like restricted in terms of meeting people. Basically, we have to talk about social skills training to these patients and teach them how they can. And we can do the training of social skills either in individual or in pairs or in small groups or large groups or video or computer assisted. This can be done by any psychiatrist or any psychologist or social worker or any mental health professional of anywhere. And what are the techniques used? See, these are the techniques which may right coaching, modeling, prompting, shaping, overcorrection. So these are the things which all our parents have taught us when we were small. How you teach a child to learn brushing the teeth. How long a child takes to learn how to brush the teeth. It takes almost to perfect that 5 years, 6 years, and still may not be perfected. When few of us are also not very perfect in brushing the teeth. That is one. And then you can have a classroom teaching, you can have a buddy training program, you can train a person who will train the individual, and the reward is given to the person who gets trained. Then cognitive training, which is very, very important and which may take a lot of time. Simple things like brain sorting, letter cancellation can be used for cognitive retraining. And this can be done in most of the houses. And we have a lot of programs on computer-based cognitive training, which can be done. And the most important thing is a large body of research supports that social skills training, if it is given, they learn. And people with serious mental disorder can be taught, and they will definitely do very well in their activity. Other thing which we can do in our outpatient service is that activity scheduling. Very simple. Ask the person how you can spend your time. Most often they will say that half an hour I will do this work, and 3 hours I will watch the TV or I will lie down. And when you look at it, the patient may not be watching the TV. He's just lying down and not even changing the channels or things like that. So we have to bargain with them to slowly increase the time of activity very, very gradually with increments which are very, very careful. And you can give use token economy all the time. Sometimes it group therapy, which is good. And then comes because token economy, the difficulty that when Aylan and Asrin talked about token economy, they did it extremely well in institutional setting, but generalization was very, very poor. So we have to look at social reinforcers and things like that. Now, I just want to just look at this way. When you talk about activity today, one example I'm just giving. This is, we have to go for a task analysis. This is not complete actually, just an idea to give. When you do a brushing the teeth, what all steps are involved in the beginning? If I talk to any of you, you will say that none of you will be able to tell the steps without making a mistake, because we have learned it from childhood and it has become part of our life. It's something like driving. Now, if somebody is regularly driving you, car is part of your body. It's something like this. But if I ask, can you differentiate the steps? Nobody will be able to. So we have to sit and analyze each step and try to teach each one of them and give a reinforcer for this. And every activity can be done in this way and teach the patient. They will do that. And now, material and social reinforcer can be mixed. And most important is that intermittent positive reinforcer. One of the example I always tell people is that one is people going for fishing. They do not get fish all the time, but they don't mind spending the whole day sitting there. If they get a bite and they are happy, and the reinforcing, it has a lot of effect on that. But unfortunately, when a person with serious mental disorder comes in, to identify a powerful reinforcer is very, very difficult. And we have to have the most powerful reinforcer. Otherwise, things can happen and something happens in the old mental hospital. I don't know because I left the institutional facility for a long time, where the psychologists and social workers will decide about rewards and all, but the Aya or attendant will give them a coffee or a DD or a cigarette, which becomes a much more stronger reinforcer than the regular tokens or the reinforcer what is being provided. So we have to be careful about it. Mistakes by the patients should not be criticized or punished. Spacing the reinforcer over a period of time to improve generalization and then get into completely on a social aspect. One example of an activity program in some of the residential facilities, I'm just showing it here. So there is a time-bound program. Now, disadvantage of this is that after discharging from this facility, when the patient goes home, say that at 1 o'clock or 12:30, I have to have my lunch. So none of our families are having this type of an activity schedule program anywhere. So that is something which we have to be careful before discharging anybody from any of these home facilities. Teach them how to handle this time issue. Then comes these common issues. Who brings for follow-up, coping strategies, crisis management. This is one of the things which happens. See, for example, a chronic mentally ill person goes and keeps on asking tea or coffee every 10 minutes or 15 minutes. It's a big problem. Now, let us quickly look at family. What is family expectation? Either they will tell that this guy is good for nothing, or this guy I want him to be educated just like the previous. Then you educate the family members about the expectation as well as the illness. Bring the expectation to a realistic level. Say that these are the things what he can do or she can do, and these are the things what they cannot do, and educate them and convince them about it. Now, the other important issue in a person with chronic mental illness is resource utilization by the family, where the resources, we are not looking at a one-time disaster. Like what is happening currently is that everybody felt that one pandemic just comes and goes over. But the history says that the pandemic do not just come and go. It stays for a long time. So we have to look for a long drawn out battle with the disability in mental illness. And we have to see that the acceptance by the family that there are some issues, but at the same time, this person is not completely useless. And express emotion, as all of you know, that February this year, Julian Love passed away and was reasonably close to me also. And because I used to have a lot of issues to the expressed emotion and things like that, but some families do have this, and we have to support patient from that angle to reduce the expressed emotion in the families. And emotional support for family is a very, very important issue, which can be tackled during rehabilitation process. Otherwise, it's very, very difficult. Then comes community. As I mentioned, awareness, acceptance, community resources, community support, social network, and community participation. These are the. I'll show you some pictures of what actually happens. Now, these are some of the pictures from Maresan and Pala in Kerala. The leaders have been brought in. A lot of politicians and have been important, and we also developed movies where we all acted together along with the regular film star and recovered patients, and so we were all together, and that made a lot of difference, especially in the thing. And now this particular center has developed more than 10 short films, and today I was talking to them to English subtitles. Now, this is some of the programs which have been done by these agencies in Kerala, community agencies, where public rally for about 5 kilometers, doing all these things, including a tableau by people who have recovered, who are supposed to be homeless, but they are all there. And this was supported by the World Association for Psychosocial Rehabilitation at that time. Then you can see the educational programs in Karnataka, which where the community workers started doing that. And this is something which we started. I'm currently the secretary of this trust called Chittadhama, which is meant for people who are mentally ill, who are homeless. That's a way to tell that in Karnataka, following all the possible rules. And we are doing it extremely well. Thank God, till today, there is not a single COVID case in that place. And we have 40 patients now. And we have sent back. And a number of people whom we send back to the community is very limited. But we send them back from northeast and India to northern India to southern India, everywhere. Because you find a lot of people. How to get a person who are homeless? This is thanks to Maria Sundanam. To motivate them, talk to them nicely, and bring them to the home, and then start cleaning them. And this is one of the happiest scenes where you find reintegration back. The family has not seen the person for years together, and I know that people who are involved in this type of program, all of you are experienced of taking somebody over a period of time. Now, quickly, I will tell you, currently the literature talks about these type of facilities like hospitals, halfway homes, hostels, long stays. These are all places where people can be put in. Non-residential are the daycare or the vocational training centers. One of the very interesting daycare center has been, it is an experimentally probably started in a village in Chavakad, Kerala. And later people found that it's very useful. So where is the stigma? I have my own doubts when you talk about stigma in villages. When you start and delivering very good services, people definitely take it. And it is we who are to provide and who can take the leadership. And some of the characters of halfway homes are being mentioned, currently running in India. It's all short-term facilities, and long-term facilities are there where commercial interest has to be taken into consideration. Otherwise, you cannot provide the best services. I do not have any issue. It can be commercialized because a lot of people who can afford to pay, the patient can get a better life. And sometimes these places can become a dumping ground. Now you can see what are the things which can happen in a daycare setting. You can develop various programs which are useful today. Because why I thought of showing this is that when we were all youngsters working in these places, there used to be manual typewriters, and you can get a job for a lot of people in registrar's office or nearby these advocates, or they'll employ these people for manual typing. Now nothing is there. It's very, very difficult. So according to the change of the thing, we have to do that. And you can look at this as a community-based rehabilitation. And this is actually by the people, of the people, and for the people. You can say basically empowering the local community and decentralization. Interestingly, I have done about combined workshops about psychosocial rehabilitation, including professionals, family members, and local community, and initiated more than 16, 17 rehab centers in different parts of India. So my experience has been that once you empower the local people, there is no problem for resources. Everything comes automatically. The Silchar experience, I can tell, about 15 years back, I told them that I have come after such a long distance travel and I want something. They initially thought that what we can give you. I said, I want a land and building. 4 members in the workshop who attended, they offered building and this thing, and 4 daycare centers started at the same time. And so it's not very difficult. Now, village area, you have to look at this. This is a part of Wayanad. And one of the issues that if you train somebody who can do this thing, about developing what is needed for the individual, it's good. Now, today we need a lot of paper covers because of plastic ban and all. You can see that some amount of recreation is very important, and organized recreation is a thing. Now, what is the thing is that we have problems, but we do not look at problems. Now, let us see what the governments can give. Disability benefits, which is there in India, but we have to teach them how to access this. Then licensing of the centers. Now what is happening is that some states are having 2 licensing. One is by the Ministry of Welfare under the PWD Act, as well as Mental Health Act of 1987. A lot of places the rules are now on Mental Health Care Act. So there's an issue in that. But Mental Health Care Act actually is much more distinct with regard to this, because they do not talk specifically about rehab as such. And transport facilities for the people is very difficult. And barriers of reintegration acceptance by the employer and the community, illness-related barriers, unless we are little tolerant to certain oddities behavior, it's very, very difficult. I feel that we have to become a much more tolerant society to accept all of them as part of the thing, because so-called normals do not have a lot of skills. And skill-based competencies. This is something which is happening even now. With every other day, medical college teachers will get this saying that all the doctors have trained on skill-based competencies. I really don't know. Then gender difference is a very, very big issue. in the community. So this is a big challenge, and especially when a lady is affected, the chances of the person who is getting a good treatment as well as rehabilitation is low. Not only in our country, it's there across a lot of countries. And people with mental illness who are homeless, that's another issue. And children and adolescents and the geriatric population. Geriatric population is something which a lot of people do not take care of. Now we look at low priority of PSR and there are no funds. Nobody gives a priority for this. The other issue is that human resource shortage. So some of my slides have shown that to overcome this is that make it as a people's movement and a public involvement more than that will be good. And infrastructure facilities, whatever is available in the society, we have to look at it. See, for example, I don't think that we need in some places chairs and tables. I have shown one of slides. You put a sheet and people can come and use that room and sit and do some activity. So there cannot be a uniform standard across the country, especially in a country like ours with all these things. Stigma, again, it is there, but it varies. I have found out that in states like Mizoram, very, I could not even find a stigma there. I'm not very sure. This is my personal experience. Then comes homelessness in the so-called educated mainland. This word, which one of the Mizo people used at that time. Now, what is happening is that, quickly I'll finish this in few things, is that this pandemic has affected a lot of rehab across the country. Majority of the places got closed, and people who are, see, for example, Malaysian talking about in Kerala, all the people got infected, and the government has taken over a complete setup for a month and provided facilities and food and medicines, everything, including the caretakers. Now, that's a very difficult issue. And the rest of the slides talk about basically, if you want to develop a rehab facility, what all things are required, which all of you know because a lot of you are also running a hospital. This will quickly skip through so that we can have more time. Formal funding, informal funding. Please remember, there are a lot of companies in India currently would like to fund CSR activity, especially for the mentally ill. And the only thing they ask for is a trust or society to be registered, and they should have its own land and building. Land should be less than. These are some of the basic requirements, and you will get it. But when you start this, you have to organize all these registers so that any inspector will have all these things. Now, the worst is that what are the requirement documents? I don't want to go through the list because it's mind-boggling, because you may require more than 40 to 45 clearances from various places. And which I went through it only realizing that we started the home for the homeless people in Higadadevan a remote village in Karnataka. We realized agricultural land cannot be purchased by a trust. We bought it and we did not know what to do with that. A lot of issues were there. Similarly, you cannot buy certain agricultural land near a lake or a, because water body has to be there to have something all the time. You cannot depend on the thing. Now, there are certain things like Annabhagya Yojana or things from the government, and there are certain things like Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Fund, which definitely supports rehabilitation activities. We should know how to access this and get it. But if you take a government funding, then there are certain restrictions along with it will come. But if you take community resources and various funding, you can do that. We can do rehabilitation without even resorting to any foreign funding. Because Higadadevan Kote, where we run, we have one of the philosophies that we do not accept foreign funding, especially in dollars. You don't require that. Now, India is signatory for all this sustainable development goal and developmental goal 3 is health for all at all times. And psychosocial rehabilitation is part of healthcare. All government agencies, because this is rehabilitation 2030, and who are all the government agencies who are part of the WHO is going to have this be changed over the years. And mental health division of WHO talks about community care in mental health should be person-centered, and rights of the person is of paramount importance and family's concerns. This is something which a lot of countries, depending on family, will have difficulty. Now, I think I can get to the last slides. This is some of the things. This has to be updated because these are some of the things where you see that all over India there is some amount of rehabilitation activity going on, and this is good. And to conclude this, I would like to also say that one of the greatest experiences in my travel around was having an interview with Mrs. Davis in Ranchi. And there is something which, and she told that she is a person who took first time people from Ranchi CIP to her house and kept them there. And probably that might have been one of the most interesting rehab activities started in to the pre-independence period. And probably the chairperson of James Kennedy also knowing Ms. Davis so well. And what I would like to say is that PSR, psychosocial rehabilitation, is feasible if we put our mind and effort. It can be done by anybody, anywhere. And there are evidence-based techniques, which are few because people have, it's very difficult to compare different centers. And there are a lot of non-specific factors which goes into the care. And unfortunately, non-specific factors in therapy cannot be controlled. Difficulty in comparing different programs, and government policies are good in terms of principle. Adequate facilities are not provided. If you look at it, everywhere it is there, but we do not get the thing at the ground level. We can do rehabilitation at individual level, even in outpatient setting. And I think with this take-home message, I would like to conclude. And thank you very much for listening. I am so honored that I have been invited for this particular program, and the organizers, thanks a lot. And of course, fortunate to have Dr. James Kennedy as a person and Pramod representing so many generations, and it's great. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Murali, for the excellent presentation. Now I feel we are having a kind of interactive session with the moderators and the host, chairperson, Dr. Fan Pati, participate. So I think 20 minutes is earmarked for that interactive session. I'm sure Professor Murali will be very happy to respond to, answer your question and respond to your queries. So that is open to the house and open to the moderators to conduct the program for that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Alim, I'll take the first question.
Sure.
So, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, that is on my mind, and because I saw it in the chat box, I thought I'll just start from the most difficult question. Sir, because of COVID, we have lost a lot of people, and many of the mentally ill patients have lost their primary or the only caregivers. So that's a very, very sad and sickening part. Now, whenever parents come to us with kids, they always tell that what will happen after us. But COVID was one phase or one thing where nobody was prepared. Nobody had prepared themselves. Nobody had made arrangements. We have lost a lot of people. Now what are the steps we should think about, or maybe in the policy, in how to rehabilitate such people who have lost their primary caregivers, who are mentally ill?
See, it's a very interesting situation now. At the same time, it is very, very difficult. See, lot of, I also lost some of my patients, close relatives. Unfortunately, this particular pandemic is something which has shown that nothing is predictable. Because if you look at, because our hospital had more than 1,000 or 1,200 beds allocated for COVID care. And the first wave was different, and second wave, we could not believe that who is going to die, who is going to survive. So unless the government comes up with some system where these people are taken care, it is going to be very, very difficult, because we are going to generate a large number of people who are homeless. NGOs are taking care of them, but again, there are a lot of issues with that. Some NGOs are individual run or family run, or some NGOs are a trust where there's a continuity care. So it's a very, very difficult question to answer straightforward. I think you also agree with me, no?
Yes, sir. So
Thank you, Amrit. I think, sir, it was a wonderful session. I think we had the summary even before the session started. Dr. Pramod's journey was the summary of how one can establish a rehab center.
Yeah.
So we had a summary before even the presentation. So thank you, all of you. So there is a question in the chat box. In a government hospital, if someone wants to set up a psychiatry rehab, are there any specific guidelines? What protocols should one follow? What should be the end results, and what is the process of doing that?
Okay, what we have to do is that just write a letter to the medical superintendent, whoever it is, that I'm going to start some activity scheduling as a part of treatment for the patient, and start with that. And over a period of time, what will happen is that when the patients start attending the whole program, it can be started. There's no difficulty. And rehabilitation today, as per the government, there is a in Karnataka, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Kerala, all these places, there is something which can be done very, very easily. There is no special regulation required. It is part of the mental health care. But unfortunately, every state differs in various things. I can tell you something with due apologies to Dr. Fanpati. As part of the Supreme Court's order, somewhere around 2001 or 2002, I happened to visit a lot of health secretaries of various states. And people, health secretaries in some places did not even know there was a mental health act. I'm talking about that period. Okay. Now, if you look at the whole thing, and please convince the authorities that there is a facility which can be developed here. There is no difficulty for that. And I am willing to provide technical support for all these things free of cost.
Very good.
yeah.
So there's a one question from my side. For starting a rehabilitation center, do you have to get a recognition from Rehabilitation Council of India?
See, Rehabilitation Council of India talks about every center should, any which you talk about rehabilitation has to be recognized by them. But then with the Mental Health Care Act, a lot of places have brought everything under the, see, Karnataka rule says that everything is under the Mental Health Care Act. So we do not have to get worried about it, because once it is covered on. Otherwise, how many places we will be applying for it?
Mm-hmm.
So once it is brought under some form of regulation, there is nothing to get worried. Rehabilitation Council of India requires a thing, if you are having a training program or trying to develop a rehabilitation professional from the center, then you definitely. Otherwise, for service time, I do not think that we require that.
Thank you, sir.
I think we should worry in this aspect, because as the scene is on the ground, whenever there is a bad incident, suppose Dr. Pramod was talking, so all the administration is against the doctors. The general wave is doctors are the killers and Lutera and all these things. So I think we should have a very what we can say, a robust checklist, so that we are able to tide over all these problems. I think Dr. Pramod would like to share a few of his instances.
Yeah, definitely, Alim sir. It's very important. See, until I personally feel that all areas of society has to be educated regarding mental health. Then only all the issues can be get diluted. Otherwise, it's a very great problem for us to move in society for this in all aspects. Like people sitting over our head who are not, in fact, educated medical persons. Still, they are keeping eyes on us. It's a very difficult task for us. So all what personally I think like educating bureaucracy, politicians to the ground level of, like villages, that may help us to move easily in the society.
Can I add on this? Actually, in Mysore district, we have done it when we started the home for the homeless people. Initially, people felt that we are doing it for some benefit for us. So what we did was, we had a workshop for all the corporators as well as the Gram Panchayat and village Panchayat. Everybody was given a separate workshop. Then we had a workshop for the police personnel in that whole region. Then we had a workshop. All these workshops were inaugurated or done by magistrate, because you cannot go and tell the magistrate that you don't know the thing. Unfortunately, the magistrates also did not know about that. We requested the High Court judges whom we had some close contact to please request them to get into this. Otherwise, it is very difficult. They can come and harass you. Anybody can be harassed. And a lot of people do not even know that Mental Health Care Act and the rules have come into existence. They are still following. There are some places, you'll be surprised, following 1912 Act. Especially when it goes to the taluk level and things like that. It's very difficult. So we have to, one of the ways that we found out that these workshops have been very, very helpful. And it really paid these dividends for us on that. And we are very, very well respected.
Sure, sir. In my institute, I usually go for these community activities in 15 days. We go to all villages, we talk to them and give all basic knowledges on the local level, local pattern of putting all things in a part of drama or interacting with them by giving the issues like what are problems you are facing. I think so this helps a lot.
Yes.
Alim.
Yeah, Murali sir, I think the key point is, repeatedly keeps on emerging, that you have to educate everyone. You have to just bring them to the table. If you are able to talk to them, I think most of the people should be accepting the concepts that you are talking about. So your experience, yes.
See, I found out that if you are having a combined workshop with professionals, local doctors, other people, family members, and then the government officials, then it makes a difference. One of the things is that the most important person in any district is the district collector. I think we have to look at that and the superintendent of police. Once these people are brought into the thing, then because collector also holds a post to the magistrate. So a lot of issues can be sorted out, and they will issue an order that, okay, this many staff of ours have to attend this workshop or whatever it is. And they are actually looking for somebody to do this, because people who are homeless with mental illness is a huge problem across the country. So that is the whole thing.
So is it the duty of the government to look after it, or the duty of psychiatrists to do that?
I think if we keep on telling and who will do this, it will be like pandemic and the vaccine. Or do I look after myself from the pandemic? Or is the government to take care of it? And ultimately, who is sufferer? It is the public. Now, government is made by us, no? So we have to break the ice and get together to have a situation where we can interact sitting on a table. And I found it's very, very easy because you talk to them, all of them are human beings, and invariably, some of them will have some relative who are in mental illness. A lot of people do not want to talk about it. Once you start personally interacting, not in a meeting, you just talk to them, sir, this is a thing, I would like to conduct a workshop for the people in the department and see how it works out. There is an issue. So it works.
Absolutely. So one more question
what-
I have.
Yeah, Pramod. Sir, carry on, sir.
Is the mic on for all the participants? Because I don't find too many people coming from the floor asking questions. Only the organizers and the persons, only few persons. What about the larger number? We had more than around.
Sir, they are putting the questions in chat box, and Alim and Amrit are reading it out. The questions are from the public, sir.
That's what I was surprised about.
Just to avoid chaos of noise, we are adopting this. The questions are from here. You can see the chat box. There are a lot of questions.
It's okay, but then the questionnaire, if you know about the questionnaire, background, the setup in which he works, that would have been more illuminating. I thought. Anyway, that was a great experience listening to Dr. Murali, I should say. What especially strikes me is his enthusiasm. Enthusiasm to keep on doing your work, that is your mission. He is working in the rehabilitation field as it is a mission for him. And that makes me so happy that here is a person who started psychiatry at Alleppey long back. He's keeping the torch very, very much alight and marching forward and doing the best under the circumstances. I am a person who is very skeptical about rehabilitation. This certainly I don't mean to belittle whatever my good friends are doing in the field of that. Everybody has to be thankful to them. God will bless them. That is all there. But still, I feel we are living in a time when rehabilitation is very tough. It's a very challenging task. If you go to the history of psychiatry, you will say that to me, rehabilitation was started by very, very time. The humane movement was started by Philip Pinel. Philip Pinel, I will say, inaugurated rehabilitation also. And if somebody wants to be in the rehabilitation field, he must have that humane approach, ability to empathize with people, ability to consider the psychotic, just like me. He happened to be in that different role in life by destiny, whatever it is. But still, he is also as much entitled to human dignity and everything. So that kind of a field, unless the doctor who enters the rehabilitation field, I feel no rehabilitation will. Whatever be, Dr. Murali gave a very nice definition about rehabilitation by great authorities. Still, I feel unless the person has that attitude in him, attitude to rehabilitate the less fortunate ones among us, rehabilitation will never take place. If you look at the history of psychiatry, ever since the time of Pinel, this spirit was very much alive for all over the world. All over the world means mostly of the developed world. That 150 years, I will say, was a time when there was so much of kind-heartedness was there among all kinds of people. All kinds of, not merely psychiatrists or doctors, teachers and all kinds of people. Clergymen, everybody had this kind of concern for this thing. It went on for about 150 years from the time of Philip Pinel. But somewhere in the middle of the 20th century, this changed. Somewhere around the time, say, I started as a student of psychiatry, I thought that rehabilitation or the kindness that was kept alive for all those years was just getting put off by various kinds of socio-economic forces all around the world. Human beings started becoming less concerned about fellow human being in distress. Now, somewhere during the talk, Murali told that the situation of this rehabilitation work or kind of social work for the mentally ill patients getting transferred to the welfare ministry rather than remaining in the health ministry. That is an issue. That is an issue. I will not blame anybody else. I will blame only doctors. In this instance, psychiatrists, because they are not interested to do that social work part of it, the social engineering part of it, to rehabilitate it. So they are finding it very convenient. Mostly psychiatrists of this generation, I will say, I'm not blaming them. They are also part of the huge torrential current that is taking mankind forwards, and they are part of it. So they're all wanting only the general hospital psychiatry, wanting their cushy kind of comfortable kind of position in the career as a this thing. Not many like rehabilitation work. That is a very huge tragedy in Kerala. Because I was glad that Dr. Murali showed so many slides about rehabilitation work taking place in places of Kerala. But what surprised me is that psychiatrists are not wanting to run mental hospitals. Can you imagine? Psychiatrists in Kerala, of course, few psychiatrists in Kerala from Kerala will be attending this, but I'm shocked. I cannot have any clue why psychiatrists in Kerala not wanting to run mental hospitals, because it is an unpleasant job. It is an unpleasant job. Now you have, I was a person who always thought that psychiatrists should run mental hospitals. That is their right, their duty, their privilege. But of late, I saw a non-psychiatrist doctor, the superintendent, the medical superintendent of the mental hospital here at Tricur. She's not a psychiatrist, but I found her so much enthusiastic about doing things. She has learned quite a lot of rehabilitation ideas on her own, not being a psychiatrist, and doing a lot of things. So I had to, at least in my mind, revise that stand that, well, maybe the psychiatry has come to a stage when non-psychiatrists might be performing better than psychiatrists in running mental hospitals, in running rehabilitation. Now, what you find all over the world, in Americans said that you don't want mental hospital, downsize mental hospital, close down mental hospital. Why? They have no clue. They are throwing out mental patients, they get charged on petty cases and get dumped into jails of United States. They don't care. They only talk about biological psychiatry. They only want to tell about the new molecule and want to impress people that some new molecule will arrive one of these days and make all the difference. It is unlikely to happen. As we know how complex the working of the human brain is, it is unlikely to happen. Probably the same fellows who say that, they also know that is unlikely to happen in the couple of generations from now on. But still, they keep on saying that mental hospitals, whatever rehabilitation work, whatever ideas for rehabilitation, it got generated originally from mental hospitals, from the medical superintendents of mental hospitals all over the world. Many ideas came. Now you should tell about after house, therapeutic farm, this, that, so many things. All those ideas came from mental hospitals. And even today, if rehabilitation is to have wings to fly high, mental hospitals should get converted as hubs from where you could make several rehabilitation models. But it is not that. Psychiatry is mostly dissociated from this thing. So what I find is, since the 1950, psychiatry is not very much interested in rehabilitation. But I am proud that my associate, Dr. Murali, is taking a lead in this and doing. And by listening to Dr. Murali, a lot of people among the listeners, I find the listeners' number is dwindling. But of the remaining, many will get inspired by the way Dr. And also, I'm happy that my co-chairperson also is very much on that track, wanting to do good. And these people are setting examples for others to emulate, and maybe in days to come, we will have a lot of rehabilitation activities happening around us. I should just stop by telling a small this thing, because 2-3 years back, we had a conference in Ranchi, being an alumnus of CIP Ranchi. Of course, it was not called CIP then. It did not have that fancy name. It was Hospital for Mental Diseases. Or for the people around, it used to be the European Pagal Khana at that time. And we were all admitted to the European Pagal Khana, being the first batch, hostel, nothing. We were all housed in some cottages that was meant for patients. And we are all huddled together in those cottages. And actually, he started the life as a trainee psychiatrist with a lot of friends among psychotic patients. I still remember many of those patients. So when I went to Ranchi for this conference, I asked the organizers, because I had some foot injury and that I could not walk. Then I asked somebody to take me around the hospital. So they very generously, very graciously asked a particular resident to take me around the hospital. I went around the hospital. The resident was very enthusiastic to get a person from down south to show the developments in that institution. He showed me the CT scan, MRI scan, this scan, very, very, very thick. I traveled to the whole place. I had so many memories of patient social, staff social taking place, our cricket matches on weekends, badminton every evening, so many things. But I could not see a single patient. I could not see a single patient during that conducted tour of 1.5 or 2 hours. I could not. Why? Because patients, even within their place, mental hospital, they are pushed into whatever place they are accommodated in. They are not seen outdoors. They are not seen. So that is an institution. I do not want to discredit because that is my alma mater, which I am very proud about. There may be somebody trained there or somebody working there among the audience here, but I could not see a single patient. So I felt very sad. Where are all my patients? Of course, all the patients whom I happen to know, who were my friends, are all either bid farewell to the world. That is there. But still, their counterparts, nobody is there. So what I am saying is, unless mental hospitals get transformed as hubs from which various rehabilitation work will get started, I don't find much future for rehabilitation. And another worrying thing I find is, he said about all kinds of people, all kinds of people. No, many among them, I am worried, will be wrong persons entering the field. Wrong persons entering the field of rehabilitation with wrong motives would be a very tragic thing. That is something that psychiatrists have a duty to prevent. That is why I feel very upset, I will say, finding that no psychiatrist is not taking interest in rehabilitation activities in their own place. Not that everybody will be able to devote so much time, but it is all a question of attitude. It's a question. Dr. Murali rightly said that as you see a patient for the first time, admit a patient in the hospital, then your rehabilitation activity starts. Anyway, it was a very inspiring thought. I'm sure many among the listeners will be inspired by Dr. Murali. Thank you very much, and I should especially thank Dr. Tufan Padi and his other colleagues for giving me this opportunity to chair this wonderful session and have a very, very, what should I say, very good evening in these very troubled times when you had very lonely evenings and waiting for the day break tomorrow and spending days, losing all your evenings. Then this is gifting a good evening for all of us to share and be together. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Over to Tufan Pati, sir.
Okay, thank you, Alim. I think we have got some minutes. Can I request Murli, if you have got a South African friend over here, request him for just a comment.
Sorry, are you there? I think Solomon is. Solomon, Manal from Egypt has left.
And I think, yeah, both of them have left, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, that's right.
The number is.
Just I wanted to appreciate their kind presence. And first of all, I should not fail if Dr. Pramod is there to highly appreciate the endeavor by him. I have gone many times to Raipur. I have met him in Raipur also, but I did not know about his tapes for rehabs. And next time I go, I shall definitely go to him. And if he's not there, I shall ring up and tell him, oh, you are there.
It will be my pleasure, sir.
So Next, there was a question raised, whose responsibility is this? State or psychiatrist? My take on this, because I have made some efforts, modest
Yes,
efforts, in
yes,
spite
yes.
of being a clinician, and I have not sacrificed being a clinician, that it is has to be the wandering lunatics or the forlorn lunatics. They have to be the responsibility of the state, legally, morally, and ethically. And that they have to be taken care of is only known to the psychiatrists, not to the state. So it has to be linked. And for that, workshops or advocacy, whatever is the principle, has to be adopted. And there is another thing I will tell now. I am having around 14 to 15 rotating persons who are rehabilitated in a mission of charity hospital. I have the advantage that they go there. How they go? These are the persons who are left in the street by the family members. Up to this extent, a patient was treated me. He came around. I located his family because he knew Odia. I brought their family members. In police presence, he was handed over. After 1 month, he came to me from the center because his family was again brought him back. That is comfortable here. You keep him. I don't want him. So this family and social awareness building is also essential. And next, who will do this rehabilitation, or anyone who does it has to be dedicated. And I have a lot of appreciation for certain Kerala centers I had seen about 15 years ago. I had seen around 10, 15 centers in Kerala. And all of them had devoted workers. I have seen Paripurnata in West Bengal, Calcutta also. The basic thing is that there has to be some dedicated worker who necessarily need not be a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist consultant backup should be there. And the legal problems, we cannot be very much sure about that. Whether it is a problem or not always depends on the judge who sits in the chair. What we deduce here may not be correct. So one has to comply to all the possible legalities. Otherwise, the same patient who has been benefited may snap back. It has happened many times with our colleagues, we know that. And ultimately, what we advocate and what we argue that this won't happen may happen, because if that becomes the view of the concerned judge, it is a view. You fight it. That is a separate story. But one has to see about all legal formalities, and there has to be dedication. And the last thing which I discussed with Dr. Murli when I was discussing about this seminar, I am a clinical clinician. There is no rehab center near me. I am very much interested that this patient of mine needs rehabilitation. But I see, like Alim, like Amrit, 100 patients a day, I don't have time. What should I do? I seriously believe it is unjust not to have the patient rehabilitated. He has improved a lot and he can be rehabilitated, and family members are apathetic. They can maximum give the medicines, and I don't know a center near his place. What has to be there and what has to be strategy? It has to be developed because it's the need of the hour. With this, I thank again my dear old friend Murli a lot.
Namaste.
And I am very much obliged to Dr. Anthony sir, because I did not believe that with a fast call you will accept it. I am heartily obliged to you, sir. Now, over to Amrit. And Murli will reply to me over phone.
Yeah.
I think Amrit's connection has just gone off.
Amrit is not there?
I think it has just dropped out. Yeah.
Next time when you have a program, you kindly let me know. I can participate.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So
Yeah.
on behalf of Odisha State Bank, should I propose the vote of thanks?
Yes.
Sir, you can go ahead. Yes, sir.
So on behalf of Odisha State Branch, who is the organizer of this event, all these things that we have started from the very beginning, I sincerely thank, I have thanked Dr. Anthony wish my teachers being my teacher's friend, and my dear friend Murli, and the young guy whom I have started adoring a lot today, Pramod, and our moderators, Alim and Amrit, as well as the persons behind the screen whom you may not know, Shajia, Rucha and Sharda. They have been from the very outset with us, and all the participants today evening, which has picked up to 180. I consider this a very good number because as we know, as Dr. Anthony has observed, very few people take interest in rehabilitation, but we took it up because it is essential. And I thank all the participants, and I want to share with you that Dr. Murli has been kind enough to post his presentation to me. Alim, we can have it in our group.
Sure, sir. I will compose it and send it to everyone.
Okay. So I shall say that it is being sent, and it will be sent to all the participants of this program. And I take this privilege to invite you to the next, which is our anniversary edition. This is going to be the 52nd edition. We have been, that will indicate that we have done it for a year. Anniversary edition, we are going to have our faculty, Dr. Shekhar Seshadri. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Tufan sir, sir, Anthony sir, Pramod bhai.
Thank you,
sir.
It
was a wonderful session. Good night to all of you. Sir, with your permission, can we close the session now?
Yes, yes, please. Thank you, sir.
Yes. I have a lot of thanks for Pawan because he is the person I have bothered most.
Thank you, Pawan. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, sir, to be
Said this in that way, correct it in that way. And Golden Jubilee, he sat in my house to prepare the slides. Well done, well done.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. I'll close the meeting.
Yeah, close the meeting. Yes.